Alrighty, and we are live yet again. Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Reviewing with Gyoza Planet with your host, Gyoza Planet. Hold on. Alrighty, I am the little robot guy in the corner and I do video game reviews where people send me footage and I coach them on how to get better and what they can improve at. Anyways, so today we have a rather interesting episode. We have a person by the name of Delazar, who is a YouTuber, or streamer actually, I think. And they play TABG, and so they've sent to me about half an hour worth of gameplay, which I will then turn into about 45 minutes worth of recording. And yeah, I'll look through it, I'll give them pointers on what to improve, mistakes they might make, strategies they should learn, stuff like that. Now, disclaimer, this is not the first time I'm doing this. This is actually the fourth time I'm attempting to record this, and as you can see, I have the notes written here. First time, it crashed. Second time, I had to pause midway through and it didn't work. Third time, my microphone was muted, and to be sure, my microphone is not muted this time, as you can see from the little OBS meter flashing. And so, let's hope everything goes right this time. If it doesn't work, I'm just gonna, record it, make a miniature version. I don't know. Point is, so, let's get started. Because this is, I've already seen this and everything, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all of these points and kind of just explain what are the situations where they come up as what situations are these points relevant to and what do they, connect to. So, there's that. There are also a couple of things I talk about that aren't necessarily listed, but it's mostly smaller things, as we will see actually right here in this first section. Also, disclaimer, the footage is muted because potentially copyright music, and I don't really want to risk it. So, starting off here, they've landed in, they started in a bit of a gunfight, but they ran out of ammo. Unfortunate. So, yeah. Jump on the roof, they get into a fight here. I will use the subtitles because it does help give a bit of context as to what's happening. So they chase this person into here, and then they just get absolutely gunned by Mossberg. Now, this is unfortunate. Usually in this game, you don't want to chase people into rooms, any kind of close quarters, because they have A, the first shots on you, and B, especially if they have something like a shotgun or a minigun or something like that, you are just asking to die. A lot of the strongest weapons in this game have their, most beneficial damage ranges from 0 to 5 meters, and you are within 5 meters here. So, instead of doing this, there are a couple things you can do. One, you can flush the person out of the room. Normally, you can do this with a bouncy grenade, a fire grenade, a cluster grenade, etc., etc. You don't have that. Splinter grenade, but you don't have those. So, what you can do is you can instead take an alternate path. The advantage of this, bunk room in Area 64 is that it has these windows. And these windows, you can actually jump through them. You can, they are full windows and everything, which means that if you get on this little truck here, you can, A, shoot through the windows to hit this guy, and then if you get him low, and he, backs into a corner to heal, and it's a corner you can't see through, you can just jump through the window and shoot him. Now, obviously, this comes with the same risks of you're getting into range of very close range. Even if you know if he has a shotgun or not, it's just good principles to not do that. But him being 2 shots from death and him being 5 shots from death is a very big difference, and so if you jump in and you can land those 2 shots, he's going to be dead before he can shoot you and kill you. So that's just something to know about this. It also helps to it's something you'll pick up with time, and as you mess around and play in locations more, you'll find these hidden angles, windows, doorways, unexpected ramps, stuff like that. Places where you can kind of just get the element of surprise. And honestly, the element of surprise is the best advantage you can have in this game, because you can either instantly kill someone or you can completely wipe out a squad with having the element of surprise. So that's just kind of a nitpick, but it is a very important thing to learn, is that if someone is in very close range, trying to avoid getting into a fight with them, either force them out, lure them out, try to get a different angle on them, and if all of that fails, just leave and go somewhere else. The chances of you dying are not worth the kill and or loot they have. Almost always. Alrighty, so they do here, these in here, they don't get a curse. This right here, they drop back in where they died. Not really great. Mainly because of 3 things. One, all of the good loot in the area is currently, was already picked up by you. Point B, all of that good loot that I just talked about is currently on your corpse, or C, all of that good loot is currently in the enemy's inventory after they looted your corpse. So generally landing back in where you just died is not a very good idea. If it's a very, very large location like Factory, for example, or Finland is huge, you can, if you die in like the top right part of Finland, you can drop in at the, apologies, you can drop in at the bottom left part of Finland, and that's okay-ish. There's still a chance that'll be looted, but it's much less likely. It's much less likely because it's just so big. But this, where you land right back where the other person... Also, funny thing, they go here because they're having technical issues with their model. The other person completely missed them, so that was funny. Anyways, they're relooting here. They got some stuff from their corpse because the other person didn't grab the guns. They grabbed the deagle here. The pistol you want to use is kind of personal preference. Sawed-off is very good, though, and for a couple of reasons. One, so for those of you who don't know, the sawed-off flings you, kind of. It has a knockback when you fire, and it pushes you in the opposite direction of where you fire. So if you fire behind you, like if you're looking backwards, it'll push you in the, like if you're looking to the west, it'll push you towards the east. Point is, it's really good for movement in general. You can either get from point A to point B a bit faster, or you can get on top of, like, for example, this little ledge here. Normally you have to, like, jump on these little hooks to get up. With a sawed-off, you can kind of just jump up and then go. Or if you want to get onto the roof of a building or a container or stuff like that. It's pretty good for general mobility and for verticality. You can also break your fall with it, which it's inconsistent, but I know it is possible. What it's mainly used for, though, is that it is used to escape ragdoll states. Ragdoll states are basically when you're knocked on the ground because of several things. Implosion grenades are the most common source of it, but other explosions and some very high caliber weapons like sniper rifles can also cause this. And normally that's guaranteed death, especially with like an implosion, because you can't shoot back. Physically cannot shoot back because your gun is not pointed at the enemy that's shooting you. You are standing still on the ground, which makes you a very easy target. And so you can't defend yourself, and you're an easy shot. Sawed-off helps you with this by letting you flinging your body. So if you shoot it while you are in that like not downed, but if you are in that on the ground state and you use a sawed-off, there's a good chance that it will send you flying. And even if you might not end up in the place you want to be, at least you're not in the face of the enemy, and that's really, really beneficial. So that's the main use of it. It's mostly something that you will see if you ever start playing squads, or if you ever start playing solo squads, which is you're the only person in these, like you queue solo, or you queue as one person into the squads game mode, which means that you're one player versus full teams. In that case, it is very beneficial because you'll usually have one person throwing grenades while one or two others shoot you, and being able to escape said grenades is absolutely needed. But right now, since they're playing solos, I mean, taking the sawed-off will mostly just be for fun. Anyways, here they're being a bit stealthy. This is actually pretty good. Being stealthy in TABG isn't always the best option. Usually, just being fast is the thing that will get you the best result, or is the technique that will get you the best results. But yet again, the element of surprise is very, very beneficial. And there's certain moments where, if you're outgunned, if you're outmanned, if you need to get to a specific location, you don't want to draw attention to yourself and everything, being stealthy can actually help with that. Alright, so then they're going here, they go in, they loot up everything. They hear gunshots, and they think there's someone on the roof, but they aren't sure. Alright. So there's apparently a car here. Okay, and then this guy. So, I'm going to talk very quickly about this guy. This is just kind of general information. It's a good habit to have, which is that if you're approaching someone who does not see you, approach from an angle that they can't see you from. So, for example, this is an angle they can see you from. If you're walking through here and they decide to turn left, they can see you. This ridge behind this rock is an angle they can't see you from, because if they look here, all they're going to see is the rock. They might hear you, they might see like your bullets, or like if you're throwing grenades over the top, but they can't physically see you and your body. And the reason that this is good is that if they turn around, if you're out of their line of sight, they can't shoot you, and they won't see you, which means they have to rely on things like sound, which is inconsistent in this game, so it lets you get closer. It also helps prevent crossfires. Let's say, for example, you drop in, you're playing squads, and you find other squads in an area. You're the last person alive on your squad. There's one person left on the enemy squad. Both of you decide to leave, rearm, regroup, and everything. And now you're playing over here because your buddies died yet again, and now you're chasing down this guy. This guy's unrelated. He's not part of that earlier squad, or part of the enemy squad I'm talking about. This guy's just unrelated and everything. But here's the thing. If you're running towards here, and then these people in area who have been looting up and restocking and everything suddenly see you pass by here, because if they're on the roofs, they can see you pretty easily here. Or they might like jump over and everything. They're going to start shooting at you from those rooftops. And suddenly this guy is going to hear gunshots to his left. He's going to turn around, and he's going to see you, who's getting shot at. And most of the time, people are going to shoot someone who is already being shot at instead of the other person who is doing the shooting, because, well, the target is already low health. You might as well go for the kill, right? So that's not good, because not only are you being shot by someone not only you're being shot by these guys on the left, which might be a full squad, could even be one person, but still, that's someone that you have to take time, pay attention to, get into cover and everything. You now have this guy over here who's also shooting at you, and not only have you lost your element of surprise, but now you've put yourself in a bad position. However, if we restart this, and we rewind a bit, and we decide to go through this ridge here behind this rock, there's a higher chance that the people here will see us and start firing at us and everything, but we can't just kind of go over the ridge, and they can't see us anymore. And if this guy hears the gunshots and starts looking this way, there's a giant rock in the way. Even if he hears and sees gunshots heading towards us from the roofs here, he can't do anything about it. He literally cannot shoot us. So what that means is that he might get closer, but that's all he can do. And him getting closer is pretty beneficial for us, because it means that we can then ambush him. Or even not ambush him, we still have the position. We have the cover, and we can kind of hear him, we can wait for him. If we know more or less when he's going to attack us, we can wait for him, we can jump him, get a kill, and then deal with the people shooting us. So just, when you're chasing someone, be stealthy about it. If you don't want them to be able to see you first. Anyways, this guy launch pads, he runs off. I think Delazar hears something else. They seem to be talking about some other game. And then this guy lands in. Decent shots here. This is something Delazar does have. They do have pretty good aim with most of their weapons. The way you think this fight wasn't great, though. You jump down into his face, and then you shoot him with the Scar, which is the less powerful option of the two. And this kind of goes to, I believe this is the... Okay, this is not written down, but this is kind of like a habit that I had already told Delazar about, which is the, kind of like the range, and actually, hold on. I'm going to write this down because it's kind of important. Develop a range switch. Close range / medium range. To explain it very quickly, basically what you want to do is that, especially if you're new at the game, or if you want to improve and you still struggle with doing something, and you're still used to using a sniper rifle at close range, or your assault rifle at close range when you have a submachine gun or something like that. Close range being 5-10 meters. That's really close range, and that's not at all where this weapons benefit. What you can do is you can kind of start training yourself to do kind of an A/B response. So basically, how this works is that every single time you get into a fight, right before you start shooting, or at the moment you see this guy, you just kind of ask yourself in your head or out loud, up to you, how far away is the person? Now this doesn't need to be an exact measurement. You don't need to calculate they're 23.456 meters away. But it can be they're about 20 meters away, they're about 10 meters away, they're about 30 meters away, they're about 80 meters away. You can even use the ping feature for this. It's middle mouse button, very beneficial for figuring out how far away someone is. Point is, what that does is that it lets you gauge how far away someone is, and then because of that, you can kind of have like one of two responses in your head. If the person is within 15 meters, use your close range option. Shotgun, submachine gun, machine gun, whatever your close range option is, you use that. If they are beyond 15 meters, use your medium or long range option. And obviously, the guns in this game have more nuance than that. For example, so this is kind of a disclaimer. The guns in this game have more nuance than just like closer or farther away than 15 meters. For example, the MP40, the World War II submachine gun, can work pretty well up until 20-25 meters because that's one of the quirks of the weapon. But the reason that you do this and that you train this, A or B response is that it helps you train and get used to swapping weapons on the fly and correctly gauging what kind of fight you're going to take. You're setting yourself up to get better at accurately deciding what you're going to do, because if you can kind of get into the habit of, hey, this is a close range fight, or you get into the habit of telling your brain, hey, this is a close range fight, or hey, this is a medium range fight, or hey, this is a long range fight, and everything else will kind of fall into place. If you tell your brain, hey, this is a close range fight, it'll strafe more, it'll be a lot more aggressive, it'll push a target who's low health, it'll make sure to have something like a shield grenade or a healing grenade or some kind of emergency bail grenade, something like a launch pad in your inventory in case things go south. It'll help you be more aware of people that might be sneaking up on you, or be more aware of what the enemy's weapon is, stuff like that. And then if on the opposite, if you train your brain and it sees that you're in a medium range fight, it'll play a bit more carefully. It'll use cover. It'll use grenades more actively and more aggressively to either force people out of cover or deal heavy damage to them, and also be able to follow up on that. It'll be more aware of when should I push, when should I just keep firing, everything like that. It might not be the most practical right now, but what it's doing is that it's setting up a good basis for the future to help you, especially in squads when you're going to be fighting multiple people at multiple ranges, but even solos, being able to kind of just quickly switch between what kind of fight you're taking will help you be more adaptable and not get stuck with with something like a Kar 98 at 5 meters and then die because of it. So that's a point. Another point here, very quickly, this is the first one that was actually written down, which is when you're looting a body or a supply drop or a place with a lot of loot like Shack in Finland, prone, it makes you harder to hit, it makes you harder to see in general. Also, if there's a corpse, you kind of blend in with the corpse, and B, in places with tall grass like the area near Longwall or general in the greener parts of the map, you do become harder to see because the grass hides you. So it's a good habit to have. It means you'll get shot less and ambushed less when you're looting these locations, because they tend to be very appealing to people because, hey, free loot. And reducing the amount of times you die or take heavy damage from that is pretty valuable. Anyways, let's see. Is there anything more here? No, not really. They're kind of just waiting here. The giant glowing thing in front of you, this thing here, is a launch pad. It sends you up into the air. I'm guessing you know what a launch pad is. Take it if you're going to be leaving. It is the best way out of location, and you get a lot more distance compared to something like just walking or a vehicle. Here they're playing more carefully, and they're kind of just waiting. Which, I mean, this isn't bad. If you're going to do this, though, swap the scope from your submachine gun. Most of the time, you never want to put scopes on submachine guns because they just can't benefit from the scopes. And it also makes the gun larger, which means it obstructs your screen. It makes it harder to aim with the submachine gun. Alrighty. Nope. Wrong button. Okay. Okay, here they're just a bit apprehensive. And they're playing carefully. So they hear a gunshot and they're going to kind of just strafe around. This isn't a bad technique, especially in solos, and especially if you're a bit newer to the game. Obviously, being aggressive will most of the time get you the best results, but if you do hear, if you don't know where other people are, letting other people get into a fight is I mean, the cheapest way, the most effective way to get a win, because you can then either third party or you can kind of just wait and then ambush them afterwards. Or even if you don't ambush them, you can kind of just take whatever the high ground is and then just hold them as they try and like get into zone from their fight. This so here they throw out a taser orbital. I suspect they are doing a technique known as grenade fishing, which is kind of you just throw out grenades to force people out of cover and out of hiding, which it's not a terrible idea. If there was someone there, they would be in a lot of trouble. And then there's this guy over here. So, quick tip. If someone is ever standing still in this game, there are two reasons. One, they are brand new at the game and they don't know what they're doing. This is not super common. It's more common in solos, in squads. You're almost never gonna see this, I think. Two, they are aiming at you and they're about to shoot you with some kind of high-powered weapon. And that's really dangerous because said high-powered weapons can either kill you instantly or deal enough damage to put you out of a fight for a long time. So, what happens when you see this kind of thing? First thing you do, you get to cover. Here you have the bike that you can use as some form of cover. It's not ideal, but because of the way that it's shaped, you can kind of prone behind it. It makes you hard to hit. You also have this rock here. The rock is the better option of the two, and you can kind of just sit behind it. You can throw grenades from it. So that's the first thing you do. Second thing you do, which you actually did do correctly here, is you shoot at the person sniping at you, because for a couple of reasons. One, the human brain instinctively does not like it when it is in danger most of the time, and this extends to video games. So when it is getting shot at, it's going to subconsciously be telling your conscious, so the subconscious doing its thing, is going to be sending memos to the conscious saying, hey, we're in danger, we need to get out of danger. And the conscious, which is currently attempting to aim and focus and line head up its shots and everything, is distracted because it's kind of hard to multitask, especially if you have your subconscious telling you stuff. Two, guns in this game cause knockback on targets. This is very noticeable with something like a really big bear, but every single gun has it. And what that means is that if you get shot, there's a certain amount of aim punch. It throws off your aim when you get shot, which means that even if you're shooting in their general direction, even if something with like a submachine gun and you only land a couple of bullets, it can be enough to completely mess up their aim and force them to retreat and give you enough time to move up. Oh no, you did this well. You forced them into cover, and you throw a grenade here. I think you threw a flashbang accidentally instead of a frag grenade. Frag grenade would have been really good here because it forces the guy to leave. Basically, the frag grenade prevents this guy from going back into this little cubby here, and it prevents him from staying in this general area, which means that he has to go this way. He already does, I suspect, because of flashbang, but you could have also maybe gotten some damage here. Now, this right here is very impressive. I like this a lot, and I do think it's a very good show of the potential that Delazar has. So, this person is behind this wall here, somewhere inside this gray, or this black shape. There are three ways to get there. Number one is through here, going, like, following them. Terrible idea. There's a good chance that there's a grenade there, if not, like, a throwable grenade. If there isn't a throwable grenade, there will be MGL grenades. And even if there aren't MGL grenades, you still make yourself a very easy shot because they know that you're going to be there. Second option is to the right here. Unfortunately, this is what the other person is expecting, which means that you're probably going to get shot first. And then the third option is going to be going up here, which is exactly what Delazar does. And this is fantastic because A, there's all of this cover here to protect you, and B, the other person isn't expecting it, which means that you can get first shots on them. Or a grenade if the situation needed it. And as you can see that, this is exactly what happens. So, they run up, boom. This person is currently looking off to the right, where, as I correctly predicted, they would be expecting you to come from, except you're not there, you are up here. Now, of course, it takes you a bit to actually land your shots and everything, and this guy runs off because he has a very bad loadout, or very badly made loadout, and you just kind of... And I will admit this is good. You realize that this is a close range fight, and so you swap over to your submachine gun and you kind of just absolutely beam them. Alright, good job. Your aim can definitely use a bit of work, as can your decision making and your grenade choices, but it's pretty good. You're definitely pretty good at this game. Okay. So I land Sandcastle, and they're fighting this guy here. Alright. So this is where this point comes from on this line. And this is probably one of the most important points that also is going to be a theme in the rest of this second game here. If you are new to this game, and when I'm saying new, I mean like not you've never touched the game before. I mean like you've played a couple of matches, maybe a couple tens of matches and everything. Go to the firing range, and I want you to try out every single gun. I want to try out every single gun with every single attachment that's available. Try out all of the grenades, see what they do. Try out all of your blessings, see what they do, see how blessings work together, all of that. The reason I want you to do this is that a lot of this stuff in this game a lot of the knowledge in this game comes from experience and knowing what weapons do, what blessings do, what grenades do, and which is the best for the current scenario. And that can really help you A, know how the enemy is going to fight, B, know how you should fight and how you best fight, and C, know what tools are the most adequate for the current situation that you are in. And I say this because not only is it a thing that will pop up later, but here, of these two grenades, you have, so the situation is that you have an enemy inside a very enclosed space here. Of these two grenades, the Splinter Grenade is actually the better option because it sends out a lot of ricocheting bullets that deal high damage and bounce off of walls. It's really good in enclosed spaces, such as this one right here. Bombardment Grenade is usually saved for people who are sitting on some kind of high ground, or if you need to clear out an area, and you proceed to throw the Bombardment Grenade. Probably because you didn't really know what it did. And so that's why knowledge is important, because if you had thrown that splinter, there's a good chance that the person would have just been flat out dead, and you wouldn't have needed to jump around the corner and then shoot them like this. Which, this actually wasn't bad at all. Anyways, this combo right here, this build is not terrible. Well, actually, okay, it kind of is. Another point of this go to the firing range and test out all the guns thing is that if you did that, you would learn that the fire rate barrel is very iffy as an attachment. It boosts your fire rate by 35%, but it cuts your damage by 15%. And for a lot of guns, what that means is that suddenly they need one more shot to kill. So, for example, the AK-47 goes from needing 5 shots to kill to needing 6 shots to kill. And that extra sixth shot can be a very big difference, considering that usually you're hitting limbs, not just torso shots, you're also hitting limb shots when you're fighting. Which means that it can, instead of like you needing like half of a magazine or one magazine to kill someone, sometimes it might mean that you need a full magazine or even a magazine and a half, and the time that you need to reload is time that can mean your death. Now, I will admit they are using the Storm Blessing here, which means that this is not terrible. The Storm Blessing, for those of you who don't know, works by building up a meter every single time you shoot a person. And note, every single time you shoot a bullet that hits a target, not the damage that each bullet does, which means that for the Storm Blessing, you want two things. You want either very high damage, very low fire rate guns, such as the P90, which they had last game, the PPSH, the Glockinator. These are guns that pair incredibly well. Or you want shotguns, because every single pellet of the shotgun triggers, builds up that meter of the Lightning Strike, and the Lightning Strike deals 40 damage, which means that if you can build it up very quickly, it's pretty good. So, the AA-12 shoots 8 pellets, and the current tier of their blessing has it at 20% per pellet, which means that the first 5 pellets of a shot, assuming they land all 8 pellets, first five pellets of a shot will trigger a lightning strike, and then the next 3 will build up 60% of the meter. Now, that means that the gun, the AA-12, which deals 56 damage on a full body shot, and the lightning strike, which deals 40 damage, it means that's doing 96 damage on a full shot, which is pretty good. The fire rate barrel boosts this by letting you shoot more bullets, which is good, normally. Unfortunately, A, the AA-12 is a shotgun, which means its range is kind of limited, and B, the AA-12 has really bad damage per shot. It does maximum 56 damage. Cut that down, that's about 40-something, which means you need 2 to 3 shots to kill, instead of just one shot and a half. And yet again, the fire barrel cuts the damage, which means you need to land more shots, which means you're spending more time in a fight, which means that there's a higher chance of you dying or being heavily set back for the future. So that's partially why the fire rate barrel is kind of not great, and also why knowing what attachments and weapons do is important, because if you had done that before this recording, you would know that, hey, the fire barrel doesn't really work with most guns. I'm not going to throw it on my A12. Now, notice I said most guns. There are some guns, such as the MP40 and the BAR, that do benefit heavily from it, especially the MP40. This is because of due to math, their 32 damage per bullet goes down to 27, which means they still take 4 shots to kill. However, their fire rate is boosted by 35%, and both of those guns have fire rate issues, which means that it is more or less a direct upgrade for them. Less so for the BAR because it has high recoil, but the MP40 basically gets a free upgrade. Like, it's a free 35% fire rate boost with the fire rate barrel. So that is an example of a very good pairing. But for most other weapons, don't touch the fire rate barrel. It's the downsides are not worth the potential upsides it can bring. Whoops. Anyway, so they're going to loot here. They grab a revolver in the 3rd slot, which isn't bad at all. And then they swap it out for Scar H. Scar H is not really the best option here. Yet again, as I was saying, the Storm Blessing wants high fire rate, low damage weapons. And the Scar H is the opposite of that. It's high damage, low fire rate, which means that it works, but it's really not the weapon you want for this kind of scenario. And especially with the fire rate barrel, because the fire rate barrel means that the Scar H goes from 4 shots to kill to 5 shots to kill, which means that one of the best advantages of this weapon is kind of diminished. So here, they accidentally get into a fight. Shooting with the Scar H here is understandable because they weren't expecting it. And, yeah. Here, this is far away enough to warrant a assault rifle, and then they swap over their submachine gun. This is pretty good. They're chasing the person, they're staying in cover, not making themselves a hard target to hit. This is not good. You swap over to your assault rifle despite the fact that you know that you're going to be in a close range fight. And also because you also know that your assault rifle is out of ammo because you just shot all of it. And if we go back to this point, if you had been working to develop that range switch and everything, that range switch would have still stayed on that close range option. It wouldn't have swapped over, which means that you most likely would have just reloaded your vector and then shot this person, which generally is the better option. Almost all the submachine guns in this game reload faster and fire faster than the rifles, which means that in a direct firefight, the submachine gun will direct firefight within the ideal range of the submachine gun will almost always win, which is why you want to develop that close range habit so that you're always fighting with the tool that's best tuned to the current situation you're in. As you're looting here, compensator on a revolver is good. Compensator on the Scar H would be better though, because yet again, Scar H's biggest problem is recoil, and usually you want attachments and blessings to make up for the shortcomings of your weapon. If you have a FAMAS which has very high spread, you want an accuracy barrel which cuts the spread in half. If you have something like a flintlock which deals almost enough damage to kill at a distance but not quite, you want a double barrel sometimes to be able to one-shot further because it splits the projectiles. Or you want a fast barrel to speed up the musket ball because it tends to be a bit slow. Stuff like that. And yet again, this is another thing that going to the firing range and testing out all of the weapons and all of the attachments will teach you is what attachment does each weapon benefit from the most. And there are some attachments like the healing barrel is only good for squads, or healing barrel is only good in squads. Fiery barrel, yet again, is only good with a couple of guns, or if you have if you're going very, very, very deep into the storm-based build, double barrel is only good with some very selected guns, or if you're a crack shot with a sniper rifle, stuff like that. Some attachments are very niche in their uses, but that's fine. It's just part of TABG. Okay, I have no idea what game they're talking about, but yeah. This is good. They have put a launch pad into their grenade slot, and they were explaining that they're using it as an immediate getaway tool, if they need to. And this is a very good habit to have, or just kind of good instincts, because having that kind of tool is very important when you're playing solo, because there's a good chance you either get jumped by someone or you find yourself in a fight that you just can't bail out from. And especially if you're going to play solo squad someday, you don't have any other person to rely on for healing, for bonus damage, for a revive if you die. So having that habit is good. So here they're just kind of just waiting, taking pot shots. They'll manage to land a couple of shots. I think the person is suffering from a curse of rubber banding. And I will admit, I will point something out here. If you're going to... I don't necessarily recommend this strategy of sitting still and shooting from a distance. However, if you're going to do it, crouch. Not only... Crouching does a couple of things. A, it makes your footsteps quieter, which is good for stealth. But B, it also reduces the amount that the camera of your scope bounces around, which A, reduces the blacked out scope effect, which can impair your aim, and B, it also it benefits the recoil of your gun. I'm not sure how, but I know it does. So you might as well crouch here if you're going to be firing at this guy, because you get free bonus damage. Like, you get free boost in accuracy, and it also makes you a harder target to see and a harder target to hit for anyone that might be like watching your fighting and decides to snipe you while you're distracted with this guy. Now, as this guy tries firing at you, can't hit you, and then proceeds to summon Rock himself, which is unfortunate. Yeah, the Summon Rock spell is dangerous. There are two types of people who use it. Yeah, again, it's like the sniper. It's like the person standing still thing. Group A is people who are brand new to the game. Group B is people who are incredibly good with Summon Rock, and they are a very, very large threat, because it is more or less an instant kill grenade on a relatively short cooldown. Alrighty, so you've got several people here, and you're just kind of waiting. This is not a terrible strategy. I mean, not everybody is going to agree with this. Someone like Bee Eater would probably prefer that you be running around and, like, getting more kills and everything. I say this is fine. Some people don't really like playing like that, and from what I've seen, Delazar prefers to be, like, a lot more, like, tactical and stealthy with how they play, which is another play style. So they see the person jumping up here. This is very good awareness. Ooh, yes, take the rare speed. That's going to help you. Alright. And so they know that there's someone above them, which means that, as you can see here, they're being careful to jump up and chase this person. And then, so they've got an advantage here. They got a clear shot and everything. And so then they decide to take a couple of pot shots. And they only managed to get a couple of hits. So this is where this point comes in. The firing at range with an assault rifle, it's usually best to go for sheer volume of bullets, not accuracy. Because of the way that this game works, and because of the abundance of healing blessings or immediate cover options in form of grenades or generally stuff like that, usually going for very precise, measured, and like timed, like being very accurate and trying to land the perfect shot with an assault rifle doesn't really work, because they don't have the sheer damage output to make up for the healing or for the very short window of time that you might have to be able to actually kill the person. Now, if you're using the sniper rifle or DMR, you do actually want to do this. You want to be very careful and aim your shots and everything, because those guns have slow fire rates, which means that you have to be very careful with how you aim, and you have to make sure that actually they land your shots. With most of them, if you're using something like the FAL or the Grand, you can kind of just spam, but I don't recommend that. I still recommend that you be meticulous with your shots and you try aiming and being careful with each one. But with assault rifles, the best thing you can do is kind of just go for sheer volume of bullets, mainly because you have a higher chance of hitting them than trying to line up your scope and everything, because of how janky the scopes are in this game and how it affects where your bullets go. You're much better off just kind of firing in their general direction. Like, having good aim does help this, and having good crosshair or like crosshair placement for the scope also does help with this, but most of the time you can kind of just
hold down the trigger and you'll be able to hit them with most of your bullets, and it also means that you'll A, get more damage, and B, have a higher chance of actually killing them compared to lining up every single shot, because all of that downtime between you lining up shots is time they have to heal, time they have to get to cover, and time they have to shoot back at you. So yeah, generally in this game, if you're in a fight like this, just hold down the trigger and spray. You have more than enough ammunition, and you're in a very safe spot. There's like 2 people that can shoot you right now. There's a person all the way in the back, the one who threw the smoke grenades, and then this guy. And these are the only people who can actively shoot you. So making a ton of noise is not a problem for you. Okay. So you see the person up here. They decide to throw a splinter grenade. Yet again, this goes back to the point here of going to firing range and testing out all the guns, grenades, and blessings. If Delazar was a bit more informed about how all the different grenades work, I suspect that they would not have used a splinter here because it doesn't really do much. Instead, it would have used either a smoke grenade, which probably actually would have been decently helpful here, or something like a fire grenade that they have, or even if not a fire grenade, something like an implosion grenade for them to run up and chase the person afterwards. Anyway, so they run down here. This is good. This fight is a bit beyond their submachine gun range. This is submachine gun range you probably should have swapped over, but you did manage to take them out. Yet again, person standing still probably has a sniper rifle. This is pretty good. I like this saber throw. It forces the other person to back off, and it also prevents them from using the car as cover. They hear the orbital airstrike, and then they decide to leave, which is a good option. You could have easily run out of it, but this is the best option to get out of the way because there's a good chance you would have been shot by the person on, like, above you if you had just stayed and decided to run. Anyways, someone actually manages to get a kill here. You have 3 people left. This guy. Yet again, person standing still looking at you. It's probably a sniper rifle. And the sniper rifle in question that they have is known as the double shot, which is a modified op that shoots 2 60 damage bullets at a time. It is very, very, very lethal if you can land both shots. Landing both shots can be difficult sometimes, but most of the time it is a very dangerous weapon. You should be careful with it. So, yeah. And yet again, this is an example of if you practice with the weapons and you learn what their shortcomings are, you will know what attachments suit them best. The double barrel is a very picky attachment. For the guns it works well with. And almost always the accuracy barrel will be a better choice with the Vector or with almost every single submachine gun that you grab. The UMP prefers the compensator, but and then the MP40 wants a fire rate barrel, but almost every single other submachine gun wants an accuracy barrel, simply to give you a bit of bonus range and to reduce the amount of shots that you just miss. Anyway, so here I'm going to speed through this a bit. They kind of have a standoff here with this other person. And then here they discover that you can get shot through the railings because this is a physics-based game, which means that, yeah. It's a quirky game. I like that. It's a very interesting game. This is not a bad smoke grenade. Gives them a bit of cover as they're running up to chase this person. And then they just kind of gun them here. Now, ironically enough, this is actually the perfect scenario to use a double-barrel weapon, but you kind of started firing way too late. Here is where you should have been firing at this person. You should also have your weapon out. If you are within 10 meters of an opponent and you know that they're going to be right around the corner, right behind a piece of cover and everything, have your gun out. That time that it takes for you to pull out your gun, adjust your aim, and then start shooting can be enough time for them to turn around and not only reduce the element of surprise or like remove the benefits from the element of surprise that you have, but also retaliate. Which means that there's a good chance you would have taken a ton of damage or died here if they had like a shotgun. Or even the auto revolver could have actually killed you here. But you do loot up all their grenades and everything. You're doing pretty good. So it's this last guy. And here we see what is they have Assassin, which is a poison blessing that reduces the ammo in your gun to 1, but makes it so that it applies a 200 damage poison effect to you, to the target. Interesting wall grenade. Anyways, so the rest of this match is mostly them throwing out a ton of grenades and things. And yeah, that's pretty much it. They just keep throwing out grenades and everything. And they do end up trading a couple shots. You implosion yourself here, which is not great. You then run up, throw this down. This is mostly to make distance, I think. Pretty good saber. Forces them to wait a bit. The saber is really good for denying people from going to a location or punishing them if they go to a location, which means that what you can do here is that this person is very exposed. They have one small railing protecting them, but otherwise they can't really do much, and because of this, they can't jump down to shoot you, which means that during this time here, what you can do is you can pull out your scar and just shoot them as you get close to them, and once you get close to them, you can swap over to your vector to proceed to just gun them. You get blunderbuss, and then you shoot them, they take a bit of damage, you shoot them a bit more, and then you fall into lava here, which is unfortunate. You take this pretty well given the disadvantage you were at, but yeah, you could definitely have played better. And this kind of goes into the last point here, which is the do not be afraid to shoot. People with blessings are 10 to 30% more deadly than a normal player. This is kind of just the overall theme that I've been seeing here, is that Delazar tends to have a certain aversion towards shooting people with a lot of blessings, and we see this throughout the whole game, where they prefer to just kind of wait and be patient rather than shooting someone. It happened less in this first game, near the end, where they were, like, they went after the person and everything, but even up until then, you can see them kind of just waiting and being careful and everything. And the thing is that playing passive in this game is very dangerous, because a lot of people do the opposite. They play very aggressive. And a lot of tools in this game benefit playing aggressively. Stuff like the implosion grenade, a lot of weapons, a lot of blessings. All of that favors being aggressive, which means that if you try and play passive, it's a problem, like playstyle-wise. It also means that you're going to be at a constant disadvantage, because the best way to be better equipped for the game is by killing people, by stealing their blessings, which means that you can kill other people easier, which means you can steal their blessings, and you kind of snowball it up to a point where you can kind of just run through the last people and just absolutely demolish them. Now, what I've noticed is that I think that Delazar is not entirely confident in their aim, which is shocking given how good it is for their level. Like, obviously they have moments like this where it's not great, but earlier on, and during several moments here, they do have pretty good aim, which makes me think that they're not shooting the people with blessings because they don't want to start fights with them, because they think I suspect it's, yet again, all of it ties back to this central point of not knowing what things in this game are. I suspect that Delazar doesn't really fully understand what all the blessings do, which means that they don't really know how to approach a fight. So instead of approaching the fight, they're just going to wait and not take the fight, or take the fight as slowly as possible, which is what we saw from the pot shots that they've been taking this entire time. Instead of just going for a full spray or something like that, they're going for just a couple of quick shots to whittle down their health and everything, which is fine, but not at the speed and with the weapon that they have. If you want something like a DMR or a sniper rifle for that. And what I suspect is and because they don't know what the enemy has and everything, they're very apprehensive about taking fights, which means that instead of relying on their aim, which, because it's very good, they rely on grenades or special weapon abilities and stuff like that to instead weaken the opponents and put them in a spot where they can shoot them. And unfortunately, that means that most of the time they're going to end up with something like this, where they get put at a disadvantage and they spend 2 minutes throwing grenades at the other person for no effect, because they couldn't, they were apprehensive to just shoot them. And the thing is that aside from legendary blessings and certain blessing combos, most of the time a blessing will boost your effectiveness in combat by 10 minimum to 30% maximum. This is I haven't studied this math, but it's more or less this, especially in solos game. You're not going to find someone like Dual Rotor Helicopter or Bee Eater in solos, because they don't play that kind of game. For them, they can get much more value of a speed blessing than I'm saying here. But for everybody, for you, Delazar, everybody you're going to meet in solos, they're not going to be much more deadly with blessings. They're going to be at maximum, like, as deadly as 1.5 player, which is not much. And the thing is that you definitely have the aim to be able to counter that. And you also have your own blessings. You can fight well, and you also know when to use grenades and how to position yourself well, which means that if you take advantage of that and you just shoot at the person, someone with blessings is still someone, and they still die all the same to bullets. And because of this, you need to make your main tool your gun, not your blessings. 50% of this game relies on guns and being able to use them well. 20% relies on grenades and special abilities from something like the saber. 20% is based off of movement, or no. 15% is based off of movement, and 15% based off of positioning. The actual numbers vary, but more or less that. Which means that, like, the person might have, like, a speed blessing, they might have an ice blessing, they might have a vampire blessing, and everything. But if you can hit, like, if you have your accuracy of, it was like 20, 30%, which is very high for TABG. Like, they might have all of these fancy blessings and all of these dangerous weapons. They might look like a big threat, but they're still gonna die in 6 assault rifle shots, or like 3 to the head. The TTK in this game is that fast. It's really, really forgiving if you can land your shots. And since you can land your shots, you might as well take advantage of that. And even though you might be less proficient in knowing what weapon combos are good, or what blessing combos are the best, or like how you should use grenades or stuff like that. You can just shoot people and they're going to just die. And because of that, it's going to heavily sway fights in your favor. And then once you get more and more experience and everything, you'll be able to then properly leverage grenades and special abilities, properly leverage movement, strafing, and fights, and stuff like that. And what that means is that over time, you'll be able to just become a better player and get dangerously good at this game, I would say. I'm not 100% confident about that, but I do think you have a lot of potential to become a very, very deadly player. So, yes, congrats. But to kind of wrap this up, thank you, Delazar, for watching this, for submitting this. Thank you all for watching this. And as to kind of wrap up the whole thing I was talking about, people with blessings and people that look like they might be a bit of a threat, they're probably going to be a bit dangerous. You need to treat them a bit more carefully than the person with like a M1911 who's just standing there. But most of the time you can just shoot them, and shooting them is the most effective strategy you have, because bullets are very effective in this game. They can force people into cover, as we saw with the sniper. They can force people to reposition, as we saw with the fight here on the walkway, and they can also force people to it also just kills people really, really effectively. So don't be afraid to shoot, especially if you aim is one of your strong points. Take advantage of that, leverage that. It is your strength. It is the one thing that you have, or the thing that you can take advantage of the most. You might as well profit from it and then just run with it. So yeah, good luck. I hope to see you someday in TABG, and I also want to see how you improve later on. So yeah, it'll be fun to watch your progress. Anyways, to everybody else, thank you all for watching. If you want to be in one of these reviews, let me know down in the comments below, or you can join my Discord and submit a game to me personally. No limitations, just don't curse, don't have copyrighted music, and, well, that's all. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you later. Ciao.